Hello, and welcome to episode 104 of 10,000 Stitches podcast, a very sporadic podcast all about the joys of knitting. My name is Andy. If you guys were looking for me on the interwebs, you can find me on Instagram, Twitter, and Ravelry as Purlbug, Purlbug. You can find my blog at thepurlbug.com, and then we have the 10,000 Stitches podcast group on Ravelry. I will mention I am trying to pull away a little bit from social media, so even Instagram, which is probably where I am the most active, I have not been active very much lately. But, I am on there every so often. And I do see things that people post. I just haven't been posting as much. So, yeah, today is February 3rd, I think. So, oops. Yeah, I screwed up. I actually sat down and recorded twice during January. And just never was able to edit those episodes. And by the time the next weekend rolled around, basically, I was like, well, I'd rather record this weekend, that's all really out of date. And then I just didn't record. And so, yeah, I screwed up. I have not been a very good adult this month, but we can talk about that a little bit later. So I'm going to try and, lead with some knitting stuff, and then we'll talk about, sort of what I've been up to for the past month at the end. I know the sunlight's a little bit weird. It's doing this weird thing. I have the window next to me open. I actually have the window wide open. Thank you, Alabama in February. I can have the window open, and there's sun coming through, and I kind of have the shades closed, but there's the little holes in them, and that's what's going on here. So sorry about that. Anyway, let's talk about what I've been knitting. I have a few things I'm going to show off. Again, I have a lot of stuff that's sort of, I guess, hibernating right now. I have a lot of stuff that I'm just deciding I'm not going to feel bad about working on. Like my traveling cables hat and stuff like that. You know what? I'm not feeling it. I'm not going to feel bad about not working on it. So yeah, so these are 3 things I have to show you, one of which you've seen before and two of which are new. And these are kind of what I've been working on over the past month. I have been so busy, and just with starting a new job and everything, I just have not had a lot of brain power for knitting. And so some days I've just come home and I just haven't knit at all. So it seems like I haven't gotten a lot done over the past month, because I haven't. So yeah. So this is, okay, so we'll start with the one thing you guys have seen, and this is actually the thing I've worked on the least, and that is my Staghorn sock. I'm pretty sure I showed this off in the last episode, or I know I showed it off during Vlogmas, which seems like forever ago now, but because it is. But this is a sock using a cable chart from the Fussy Gusset, which she posted on Ravelry on her project page. So I was using that chart. It's just this really beautiful sort of Staghorn cable with some seed stitch on the sides. This is one of my hand-dyed yarns. It's a 75/25 BFL nylon base, and it's sort of this, it's funny because it's knitting up very differently than it looks in the ball. In the ball, it looks like it's going to be, very speckly and very sort of, I don't know, it does not look like it's going to be doing this sort of micro striping thing, which I totally have loved. I don't remember if I mentioned this in the last time I recorded. Oh, there's kind of a weird stitch on here. But I did a fish lips kiss heel on this because I'm doing these toe up, and that fish lips kiss heel was in this sort of green yarn that you guys have seen a lot of times before. This is a bunch of yarn that I dyed up. I dyed up 4 skeins in this color, and then used one of them to make that viajante, and used another partial skein, which this is the remnant of, to make a pair of socks for my friend in Richmond. And so I used some of this for the heel on here. And I have probably not touched this since in the single digit days of January. So it's something that I would like to get back to soon. I have another pair of socks that I'm working on right now, and I probably would like to get back to this maybe once I get those done, but I'm trying to get this other pair sort of just finished. So this hopefully will be back to being an active whip soon. This, I'm knitting it as, I think, a 68 stitch sock on a US 1, which is a 2.25 millimeter needle. I'm pretty sure I have more notes about this on my project page, so I will make sure to link to both my project page and the project page where the chart originally comes from. And if you're looking for links to anything, all of those will be below the video wherever you're watching. So YouTube, the blog, the Ravelry thread, everywhere they will be right below the video. for anything that I mention, in order as I mention them. So that's one of them. I don't remember if I showed you guys these or not, but I got these. So this bag and this bag are two new project bags, but they're not actually project bags. These are some cosmetic bags that I got for sale at Target, and they're pretty nice. They're both sort of this like mauvey themed color, and they have nice zippers on them and nice boxed bottom, and they're like sort of the perfect size for, I mean, they're a little bit bigger than they need to be for socks, but they'd be really good for like a 2 skein project. So I don't know if they still have them at Target. I looked the other day and I didn't see them because, like I said, they were on sale when I got them. But yeah, really love these. And that's just like I've talked about this before, but you know, project bags can be expensive. Like I support, you know, indie makers, and I am all for that. But like sometimes when you're starting out, project bags can be kind of expensive. And like when I started out, I needed some project bags because I had cats, like a while ago when I was in Wisconsin, and I needed to keep the cats away from the yarn. So I really needed project bags. Like it wasn't like, oh, I just want to be cute. Like I really needed them. And so if you're short on cash and you need a project bag, check out cosmetic bags. They're typically cheaper and you can like go to Target and get them. And you know, like, yeah, they're not, you know, you're not going to find a Doctor Who cosmetic bag at Target, but like you can find something that'll work, and typically they'll be pretty cheap. So just a thought. And the nice thing about them is that typically like these are pretty heavily interfaced, and it's sort of like a plasticky fabric. So like it stands up on its own, which is also really nice. So that's work in progress number 1. I guess I will go ahead and talk about the other sock that I'm working on since I mentioned that. So these are just a pair of short socks, just the sort of basic heel tab short sock that I've been making myself. And I was knitting these when I was away for training, not this past week, but the week before. I was away in DC actually for work for some training. And so I took these with me as just sort of some brainless knitting. And I finished this one while I was there, and I got pretty far on the second one and just picked it back up again like today or so. And so I would like to get this finished within the next couple of days. But the yarn that I used for this is Knit Picks Felici in the rainbow colorway, and I totally love it. It's just so bright and colorful and fun. Otherwise, yeah, it's a pretty, you know, it's my little heel tab for short sock, little sort of mod, and then my vanilla sock otherwise. And this one I'm trying out something a little bit different. Normally what I do is I do 65 rows between the last gusset decrease and when I start the toe. This time I'm lengthening it out to 67, just because I've noticed that some of my other short socks, after they've been washed and dried a couple of times and have like shrunk, they've been feeling just a little bit short. So I'm trying out just a slightly longer length. Crazy, right? But otherwise it's just pretty normal vanilla sock. So yeah, this one done. And then this one, like I said, I am about 35 or so rows into that 67 rows that I need to do before the toe. Yeah, took the time to already sew down the facing for the little sort of cuff. And I am playing some serious yarn chicken because this is what I have left, and I'm pretty sure this is not going to be enough. So, because I'm not sure if there is blue underneath there. Oh, there is blue. So I have the rest of the red repeat and then purple and blue. So what I'm really hoping doesn't happen is that I'm hoping that I don't get like to the last 5 rows and then run out of yarn. Like I would rather run out of yarn before I even start the toe than get like super close to ending. But I figure if I run out of yarn, I'll just use like, I don't know, some other color that I have in, you know, my little scrap bin and finish out the toe. I'm not too concerned about it. I thought for sure I'd be able to get a pair of socks out of a 50-gram skein because I've made a pair of short socks before that, you know, and multiple pairs that have weighed less than 50 grams, but could be the skein was a little bit light, who knows. So yeah, that's that. Again, this is on a US 1, which is a 2.25 millimeter needle and 64 stitches. So yeah, that's that. So let's talk about my non-sock project that is actually active, right? I have a couple non-sock projects, but this is the one that I'm working on. And that is a sweater. Crazy, right? Like I know I go back and forth on this all the time. Oh, that reminds me. I meant to mention this at the beginning and then I just forgot. But I got a comment the other day on YouTube about, oh, there's a bug outside the window. on a very old episode. So this was on episode, I think 28 or something, which would have been back in 2016. And I had been a little bit harsh about a pattern that I was knitting at the time. And I was complaining that it didn't have a chart, and I was like super upset about it, I guess. And the pattern designer commented on that video, and I feel bad because I think past me said something that really hurt her feelings. And I just want to say that, like, I mean, I'm sorry, right? Like, I know I apologized in a reply to your comment, but I am so sorry. I really, really am. Like, past me was very opinionated about things, like, that I now think are really silly. And I think a lot of us have this happen where it's like, you think about like the younger version of you, and you're just like, why did I care so much about that, right? I mean, especially like teenagers, like if you think back to the teenage version of you, like, man, teenage you cared so much about some things that you now are like, whatever, dude. But even just me of a couple of years ago, right? Like, because that was sort of not right at the start, but sort of like at the start of when I was seriously becoming like what I was considering like a real knitter, right? Like I was really getting into this kind of stuff. And I had opinions about things that were silly. And so this is just fair warning, like, don't take anything I say too seriously, because like sometimes I'll be like really firm about something even now, and it's kind of like, you know what, my opinion might change as soon as I stop recording. So just fair warning, right? And that, you know, leads into sweaters, right? So I know that all the time I will say like, I'm done. I'm not going to knit sweaters anymore. I need to just stop trying to knit sweaters. Like, I'm just over it. And then I'll turn around and say like, oh, I started a sweater like I'm doing now. So I started a sweater. The pattern is, I think it's the basic raglan pullover by Pearl Soho. And it's a very simple, plain, basic raglan pullover. And I'll try and put a picture up of it so you guys can kind of see. But it is super simple. And I really kind of like that. So I'm interested in this one because, for one thing, I'm hoping it will help me chew through some of my Make 9 yarn. And I am viewing this not as a sweater, right? Like, someone in their project notes referred to this sort of project as like a long sleeve t-shirt. And that's kind of what I've been looking for. So actually, it's very fortuitous that I'm wearing this today. So this is a long sleeve t-shirt, right? It's not heavy, it's t-shirt weight. But I would consider this to be what I'm hoping this basic raglan pullover kind of approximates, right? It's a nice, loose, casual, crew neck, easy to wear shirt. And that's really what I'm kind of viewing this as. So I'm really excited for it because of that. I'm also, I lost my train of thought in the middle. I'm also excited because it is a bottom-up sweater, and this is my first time ever making a bottom-up sweater, and I think I might like this method of construction better than the couple of top-downs I've done. Then again, I have not yet done a top-down sweater, which is not a cardigan, so maybe I would like a top-down sweater that's all in the round, but I'm really liking this bottom-up. So let's stop like just yakking and let's start showing. So where am I right now? I have both of the sleeves done. Which is kind of what I think I'm liking a lot about bottom-up sweaters is like you do the sleeves right away. So like Sleeve Island, I am off. Like I have caught a boat off of Sleeve Island and I'm done. So this was the first one, and then this was the second one. And you might notice that these seem to be pretty short for sleeves for a long sleeve t-shirt. I'm using the same yarn, the same green yarn that I just showed you guys that was the Viajante and the socks for my friend and all of that. So I had 2 skeins left, 2 entire skeins, and I also have this little bit left, which is part of the reason I kind of put those socks on hold, because I don't know if I might need this or not. But I wanted to use this up to make this this top, but I am a little bit insecure about the amount of yarn that I have. And so one of the ways that I decided to save on some yarn when your brain gets going faster than your mouth, was to shorten the sleeves. So these sleeves actually only come down to just past my elbow. So basically about where I have the sleeves right now, that's about how long these sleeves are. Because for one thing, I just like sort of that 3/4 length sleeve. And I figured that way I save some yarn. So I have this much yarn left from the skein that I was doing the sleeves. I have this much left from those socks. And then I have an entire skein that I started the body with. So I'm hoping that winds up being enough. Another thing that I'm doing to save on some yarn a little bit, and this is basically the shortened sleeves and then this other thing are basically the only modifications I'm making to the pattern. Everything else I am trying to stick to the pattern. Oh, the other modification I'm making, I lied, is I am adding in basted seams, which I did on my last sweater that I did, and I probably talked about it a fair amount then, and I'll try and link to a blog post that really explains it better. But basically, it's a way that you can give some structure to seamless sweaters, like by putting in sort of these faux seams that you actually do seam up these columns. And what you wind up doing, I'll show you guys on the reverse side because it's easier to see, but you add a column of purl stitches. So this is the wrong side, but you can see that column of knit stitches running up the wrong side a little bit easier. So you add that column of purl stitches and then you can kind of basically sew up the sides of that column, and that creates a seam, which adds some structure to keep your piece from like biasing a lot or just getting all kind of like bleh. So I'm adding those, and I'm making notes on my project page about how I'm adding those in. Granted, they're kind of specific to the size that I'm knitting, which is a size 36. But you know, you could figure it out for other sizes too. So that's the modification. And then the other modification I'm making to try and save on yarn is that, so the bottom of this sweater has sort of this like shirt tail hem. And actually I could show you kind of what it looks like. I'm sure you saw it in the picture, but this shirt, weirdly enough, actually also has the same hem. So it's, you know, one of these ones where it's like higher on the side and then very sort of dramatic. And this one, I think it's longer in the back because this is a commercial shirt, but the Pearl Soho one has this same sort of hem on it. And theirs, again, is very dramatic. And I just wasn't really sure that for one, that I wanted that, and for two, that I had enough yarn to do that, because it's not really adding to the length that is important, which is the side length, because I need that length to be long enough to get from my armpits down to my belt, right? So like that length is non-negotiable. Extra length in the front, I don't necessarily need. So what I did was I didn't want to do a straight across hem either. And of course you guys can't really see it because I had some needle misadventures, which we'll talk about in a second. But I basically shortened the amount of that, and I'm just going to leave it there. I shortened the amount of shirt tail hem that I did, and hopefully once I have more body, I'll actually be able to show you guys what that looks like. But this is where I am on the body. I've got, I don't know, maybe like 2 or so inches done. And I am doing this on needles, which are way too short for the amount of stitches that I have. So let's talk about my needle misadventures. So when I started this, I had the needles that I needed to do the sleeves, right? I'm knitting this thing on a US 2.5, which is a 3mm needle. And so I had a 40-inch that I could use to magic loop the sleeves. And then I ordered some more. I figured I'd order a 24-inch and a 32-inch because I already have a 16-inch in that size for when I get to the, the collar. So I ordered the 24 and the 32-inch from Amazon, which was a mistake, I think. So I ordered Knitter's Pride, and I have nothing against Knitter's Pride, right? I've had Knitter's Pride needles before. I have plenty of Knitter's Pride needles, never had a problem with them. So these were the two that arrived. These were the 24 and the 32-inch Knitter's Pride needles. This is how the 24-inch arrived. So it was broken. Cool, just like snapped in half. So Amazon did send me a replacement for that for free, which is this needle. The 32-inch would be way better for this, right? Like this would be way less crowded on a 32-inch needle. And that's what I originally used when I was casting on my stitches. And then I went to sort of slide my stitches to join in the round, and they got caught on the other needle basically that I hadn't been using for casting on. I was like, well, that's really weird. And I can't really show you, but on one of these needles, it basically is in the process of splitting in half. And that's why there was like a rough spot. So, I mean, I guess thank goodness I noticed that before I started knitting and like had it break in the middle of me knitting. But that's basically, both needles I ordered are garbage. And I don't think I'm going to try and get a replacement from Amazon because like this one I did have for a while, and maybe I sat on it. I don't know. Like maybe this one wasn't Amazon's fault, but I'm thinking it probably was, given that this one also arrived broken. Like my guess is that the whole package probably got bent and this one just didn't break all the way. But like I said, I am not mad at Knitter's Pride because I have always had good luck with Knitter's Pride needles. I really think it's the method that Amazon uses for their shipping. And so this is working okay for right now. But I think within the next couple days, I'm probably going to order another 32-inch in that size, probably from Knit Picks. The only reason I didn't order these from Knit Picks to start with is because on this one, which is from Knit Picks, this is their Caspian. I really like it. I like the Knit Picks needles. It's great. I cannot for the life of me figure out on here where it says the size of the needle. I'm pretty sure it does not say the size of the needle, or if it did, that it maybe was on like the wood and it wore off already or something, but like I cannot figure out on here where it says the size of the needle, which is fine, except like I just don't like having needles that don't have the size properly printed on them, because I don't have one of those little needle sizers. And you know, what if it winds up out of the package and mixed in with a bunch of other needles? Like, am I going to remember which size it is? I don't know. I'm going to try and up my odds by ordering the 32-inch in the exact same, like in the Caspian, so that at least I know they're both the same. We'll see. Anyway, so that's the sweater that I'm knitting. I don't know. I mean, by the next time I talk to you guys, depending on if it's next weekend or not, I may have some more progress on this. But yeah, I am enjoying it. I mean, this is obviously going to be a slog because it is just completely stockinette in the round until I get to the point where I've decided I'm at the armpits. So it's going to be boring, which is why I kind of would like to pick back up the Staghorn socks a little bit, is just to have something else to kind of work on that is not quite so boring. But I am just like really excited for this. Like, I think this is going to be a piece that I'm going to just get a lot of wear out of, because like this, you know, I want it to be like this shirt and I wear this shirt all the time. So that'll be cool. Anyway, so that's all the things that are currently in progress. I don't think I have any finished objects since the last time I talked to you guys. And so let's talk about one thing that I'm planning to come up next, because, excuse me, you know, I want to work on the sweater and I want to get those Staghorn socks finished. So like, I'm trying to not have too many things that I want to do next, but this is a thing that Wesley sort of asked me for. And so I kind of want to start working on this, and so I wanted to start knitting him another pair of socks, and he normally prefers short socks in like really boring colors, which I knit him some and I like never see him wear them. And I don't know if it's just because it's too hot here for him to want to wear wool socks, which is fine. But he did ask if I could knit him a pair of taller socks that he could wear as dress socks, because at his job, he sometimes has to get dressed up, and like, not like super dressed up, like he doesn't have to wear a suit, but he has to wear like, you know, nice slacks and a button-down shirt and a tie. And so he wanted some nicer socks to wear with that. And so I actually didn't know he even had these, but I was doing the laundry the other day and I pulled out a sock and I was like, oh, we must have gotten someone else's sock in our laundry. And he's like, no, that's mine. So he has a pair of socks that look like this, and these are from the Gap. And so it's just a striped sock. And apparently this is what he's been wearing as sort of a taller dress sock. And it's sort of navy and red stripes. Hopefully you guys can see that. Yeah. Which is also pretty bold for him in terms of socks. And so I asked him, like, can they be, you know, like a little bit more colorful? And he said yes. So before I sat down to record, I pulled out 2 yarns and I showed them to him, like, how do you feel about these? He's like, great. So I am going to basically try and recreate this pair of socks for him with these 2 colors. So it's the same sort of, or it's a similar sort of maroon red, which is Deborah Norville Serenity sock yarn. And this is something pretty old in my stash, so I'd like to get that out of here. And this is like one of those, like, it's like 50% merino, 25% nylon, 25% rayon from bamboo or something like that. And then this is a 75-25 superwash merino nylon this is the same yarn. This is leftover yarn from the head sock sample that I knit up. So it's just sort of this like nice light brown. And so I think these will look really good together. They're pretty subtle, and he seemed to like the combination. So that's going to be something that I try and get going once I probably finish up the rainbow socks. And that's actually really fun because the rainbow socks, I just realized, totally count for the knit along that's going on right now, the stripe-a-thon. These will count for the stripe-a-thon. So yay! I'm participating in my own knit-along. Which, speaking of knit-alongs, I have not been very good actually about participating in the threads for that. And again, I apologize. I noticed that there are like 24 finished objects that I have not even had a chance to look at. So I think there's a fair amount of finished objects. So that is super awesome. As a reminder, the stripe-a-thon is basically just knit something striped. And I'm not exactly sure how long it's going to go on for, but yeah, it's just sort of a fun informal KAL that's going on right now for stripey things. And there's rules in the chatter thread, so I will link to that in case you want to check those out. And if you're confused about anything, just pop a line in the chatter thread, and I'm going to be doing a better job about checking that. There's already been some questions in there about like, hey, does this count? Does that count? And so check there. And if no one else has asked, feel free to ask. So yeah, that's fun. Also, I never did wind up drawing a winner for the KAL that ended in December, the one that ended December 31st. So I'm going to get that done this week. So sorry. I actually still have not shipped out the prize from the KAL before that because I'm a terrible person and I'm just going to own up to that publicly. I'm not good at shipping out KAL prizes. I'm going to blame the move and everything on that, but like I should have had it done before the move. So the winner from that, I'm sorry. Like I still have the prize. I'm going to get it shipped out. Now that I have publicly shamed myself, it's going to happen soon. So cool. I'll probably double check with you just to make sure that your address has not changed since then. But yeah, that should be happening soon. So speaking of KAL prizes, I mentioned that the winner of the KAL that ended on December 31st would basically, as their prize, have their pick out of that batch of new yarn colors that I was dyeing up at the beginning of the month. And so I thought I'd go ahead and show those off because they're all done now. And it's like I have to laugh at like, again, it passed me because like past me thought I was going to have so much time. I was like, yeah, I can totally dye yarn on the side and sell it again. And like, no, that's not going to happen. But I can show you guys what I did. And so you can see if I were like, these are some colorways I come up with. So in no particular order, this is just the order that they're sitting here next to me. This one is chambray, and it is sort of a light blue color. It's sort of like a light blue, like denim color. I'm trying to get a good way you guys can actually see that. Maybe that's good. So this is sort of like a light denim shirt color. This one is chartreuse, and it's just that sort of classic lemon lime green kind of color. This one is emerald, and it's just a bright, cheerful sort of green. Let's see. This one is shocking pink, which I know I've shown you guys before, which is just pink. Like it is pink. This one is the other one I've shown you guys before. This one is habanero, which is just like if the last one was pink, this is orange. Ugh, a lot of orange. This one is, what did I call this? I might have called this red cedar, and it's sort of this like light brown with like hints of sort of a reddish color to it. I really like this one. It's very subtle. This one is lightning yellow, I think is what I called it, and it is just like a really bold, bright yellow. This one is night indigo. It's a really deep indigo blue. And then this one is mauve, which I think this was the other one that I had shown you guys before, and it has a hair on it. And so this is just sort of a classic-y mauve kind of color. So yeah, like I said, I will get the winner of that last knit along drawn, and you will have your choice of any of those colors as your prize. And of course, once I notify you, feel free to let me know if you'd rather see like a picture of them, since I know the colors maybe didn't show up so great. So yeah, that's that. I don't really have a question of the week. How was your January? Yeah, I will tell you guys how mine is, or how mine was. But if you were only here for the knitting stuff and you're not interested in hearing about how my month went, totally cool. That's going to be it for the knitting stuff. And thanks very much for hanging out. And thanks for waiting around and coming back after a month of just like super sudden silence. And I will hopefully see you guys again soon. But for those of you who want to know how my January went, it was nuts. I mean, it wasn't like that's the thing, like nothing was weird about it. So I started my new job, and I mean, starting a new job is just always kind of stressful and tough. And it's a very different job than what I was doing before. I'm no longer in academia. I'm working in a business now. And so it's just sort of interesting sort of figuring out like, what do they expect me to know and what do I actually know? And I've definitely had days where I had a big fat case of imposter syndrome, which, I mean, again, like, hello, I'm a millennial. Like, that's just how it goes. But yeah, so I've definitely had, like, it's been a lot. Like, I've been learning a lot. Like, that is a positive. Like, I have learned a lot in a month. And I got to go to a training that, just kind of came up at the right time. And so, like, I learned how to do this really cool stuff that otherwise I maybe wouldn't have gotten to learn how to do for a project that I'm on. But it's just like, it's been a lot, and it's been very, like, mentally taxing. And because, like I said, like, I have to learn all this new stuff. And so frequently I will get home and it's just like, I just can't. Like, I cannot even. It's like we make dinner and then I just sit on the couch all night and I'll just, like, watch YouTube or something. And it was kind of tough, like, being in that state, because, like, I don't like being like that. Like, I don't like being one of those people who just, like, comes home and, like, doesn't accomplish anything all night. Like I said, some nights I didn't even knit. So it's like I literally got nothing done. And I just didn't like that. And it made me, like, a little bit depressed, I guess. Which of course, like, didn't help things any. And then I got sick. So I don't know if I still sound like it a little bit now, but last week I got a cold. I think it was because, I was traveling the week before and I was just, like, around a lot of people. And so it was kind of like that conference crud kind of stuff. And so I got sick and I had a cold all week, and I'm now pretty much over it. I'm just, like, a little bit, like, phlegmy and gross still. But I feel better. And so, yeah, like, that didn't help things. I was just, like, in a really cranky mood all week. And Wesley has been very nice through the whole thing. Like, I feel bad because I feel like I'm just not adjusting as well as I thought I would. Like, I thought it would be easier, right? The move itself to here went fine, which of course you guys would have seen on Vlogmas. Like, the move was fine. It was totally easy. And I thought it was going to be super easy to settle into living with Wesley again and, starting my new job and all that kind of stuff. And, like, I thought I'd have all this time, like I said, I thought I'd have time to dye yarn. I thought I'd have time to maybe get a spinning wheel and learn how to spin. And that has not happened. And I think my expectations were completely unreasonable. Like, I think it probably was that, like, I should have expected that this is how things were going to be. But that's not what I expected. And so now it's like I'm not living up to my own expectations for myself. And so I've just been feeling, like, really cruddy. So thankfully, like, I don't know, like, I think I got sick because I was stressed out with, like, starting the new job and, like I said, the traveling and stuff. But I think it's sort of, now that I've gotten better, I definitely have a better attitude about it. And I'm sort of feeling just in general better and, like, okay, right, I can do this most of the time, right? Like, I still have a lot that I need to get done today, which is, like, super annoying because I feel like my weekends have probably become more of, like, what, like, a normal adult weekend is, where it's like, oh, I have to do laundry and I have to go grocery shopping and I have to go do all these things, and I don't get any time to actually, like, relax. So that's been kind of annoying, but, like, I don't mean to be super negative about it. Like, I'm glad to be here. I'm glad to be working my new job. I'm glad to be living with Wesley again. It's just, like, that's why I sort of just disappeared for January, is I was just having a hard time for no good reason, right? Like all my friends have been telling me, like, it's totally fine to be feeling this way about, like, starting a new job and feeling overwhelmed and all of that. And I know that, but I just felt like I had no good reason to be upset or to be sad or to be unhappy. And it, like, the fact that I was like, even super annoying. So yeah, that's why I just sort of disappeared for the month. And I just, like, I didn't want to face things. Like, I didn't want to have any more responsibility than I absolutely had to. So yeah, good times. But I'm hoping February will be better. The weather has gotten better, that's for sure. Like, it's super nice out right now. And I'm really looking forward to when it stays light later. Like, the short days are really sort of driving me nuts. Like, I really don't enjoy that I get home and it seems like it's dark right away. Like, I really would like it to stay light later, because, like, then I would be more motivated to go do things after work. Like, even just running to the store. It's like, it seems so impossible to run to the store when it's dark at 6 p.m. already. It's like, oh, I can't possibly go out now. It's dark out. And it's like, okay, but it's 6 p.m. Like, get it together. So I that is something I just need to, like, change my attitudes about. But hopefully, as we move into spring, it will, the fact that the days will be longer will help too. So yeah, but I think that's about it. I don't want to make this too long. Thankfully, it's all in one clip, so hopefully that will make editing easier. And this one will actually go up, unlike the past couple, so that's cool. But that's going to be it. I need to go check on my yogurt that I'm making, and then I think Wesley and I are going to go for a walk around the lake and get some exercise, so that'll be fun. Thanks for hanging out, and again, I will hopefully see you guys again sooner rather than later. Bye.